Da, 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 da. This is your, Cobalt Flux modding video of 2022. And it's been a long time, guys. And kind of glad it's been a long time. But yeah, I missed you guys. I did not miss playing on this that much, though. But, what people need now, though, is an updated video. A few things have changed. So this is going to be more of like a modding video for the Cobalt Flux pad. I'm sorry I cannot help you with control box because I have the original control box and I know nothing about wiring or coding. Don't ask me. Alright, so a lot has changed. So let's start. This floor is very cold, actually. As you can see, for the way I have my Cobalt Flux is stacked against this wall and that wall, and basically it doesn't move too much, which is pretty great from left to right, like it used to, so I don't really need too much, I guess. I'm doing that. But nothing on this side. I don't even know what this is. What is this? Whatever, cleaner. I don't use that. It's not mine. This is not my house. So let's talk about pennies. Pennies? You want to mod with some cold hard cash? Yes. All right. I'm gonna have to get this dark because my knees are freezing. This is such not a great video. I'm sorry. All right. So I like to pick older pennies. Mainly because, I mean, maybe it's superstition, but the older pennies have more copper content versus new pennies are basically copper coated and they're full of zinc. So if the pennies wear down, which they have, you know, you don't have to really replace them. All right, anyway, let us look at what I did. So I had a bad accident and I got very angry. So I removed a lot of these bad boys. Now these bad boys are quite dangerous. Sorry about the little decal over there. But, you know, they don't look too bad compared to the Dedicab machines and the old DDR machines, which are basically just little nubs of danger on those pads. But you wouldn't be playing in socks in a public setting, now would you? No. But now we own them in our houses and we have countersunk and replaced these kinds of screws. But they're still made of steel and they still hurt. I can confirm this. Especially 216 BPM. Thank you, Momentary Life, for confirming that I don't need to have those in my pad anymore. Anyway. Alright, so if we look to the side, these little bad boys, they haven't changed. They're still the same little demons that they were, but now there's sock play and whatnot, and these also tend to get stripped. If you want to know a little tip, shoutouts to Lumi for giving the Toothpick Hack, which basically you stuff a toothpick and unstrip the screw that way. Put it in like choo-choo, boop, boop. Anyway, that is not for this video. But basically I've stripped a lot of these screws over the years of play, so this is probably not the best mod to use electric tape to hold the panels down to a flush position. But I do recommend putting something down so that the panel doesn't raise up. I guess I'll go ahead and take this off because we're going to need to see what's underneath the underside of this. Who knows what's underneath this? See that? You do not want that happening when you are stepping. I don't care what kind of player you are. You do not want this catching on any part of your foot or shoe because you're stepping here or whatnot and it raises it. I don't know. This is not, you know, a flush thing. It still depresses. Like, I don't know. So, we're going to take a look inside. This is not the best example, probably, but we're going to find out why. In 3 quick steps. Now, if you own a Cobalt Flux, you do know, this is going to be quite a long video, I think, to remove from the outside in, because the wires are here, and you do not wish to break them. You know what? I think I reviewed this the last time I did a modding video that it was hard to do one-handed. that hasn't changed. So, highly recommend that. This is probably not something I mentioned before, but these wires get frayed super easily. Why do you not focus, my little camera? I paid so much money for this phone for it to not focus. Okay, whatever. Anyway, I took a little bit of electrical tape to, what's the word? Reinforce the wires, just in case these little metal edges start digging into it. Also, you will want to make sure that the metal contact of the end of the wire is securely fastened to the metal so that your panel still works. You gotta reset your computer and try again. So what I have here is an interesting penny mod, and the basic penny mod would just be basically that without these little middle guys, just the set of 3. I don't know why you would need these anymore, but they're still there. You're probably not going to be stepping out here unless you played doubles like me on Cobalt Fluxes, which was actually an utter nightmare. But yeah, so basically I know where I step, and if you step really wide, maybe you don't want these. I don't step very wide. I'm a small person. So I really want the sensitivity to be a little bit closer inward. And if you look, you know, this is not flat. The most depression is going to occur in the middle of the panel, and these are raised up. So you're going to have a harder time hitting anything close to this area because the panel is not going to depress, you know, deep enough. As you can see, there's like a little ring here where I have never hit the metal to metal on. It's actually kind of cool. You can kind of see it. It's kind of like boop, boop, boop. Anyway, like these little rings. But yeah, you can see where I've had pennies. It doesn't really affect the usage. I mean, if it did, then I probably still couldn't use this, but I still do. So anyway, I have placed these pennies in strategic positions. There's no rhyme or reason as to the exact location of these because I've tried to put them in the exact location on, say, like the right arrow, and it doesn't do the same thing. So, you know, modding is an art. It's always going to be an art. I think even with FSRs, it's still like dee-dee-dee. But yeah, so I have these in place so that like they're a little bit closer. I don't need, me personally, I do not like the left and right that sensitive. So, you know, I don't have them that close to like this kind of inner edge here. So we've reviewed that. So you can increase and decrease your sensitivity based on the placement of that. And to make it, you can do this with a different kind of metal tape, but this is a metal tape that I've been using for a long time. It's pretty successful. I wouldn't double up on the metal tape because I think it starts getting electrons confused or something. I really wish this would focus better. I'm sorry, people. I don't know. I never had really good luck with stacking metal contacts. This is electrical tape, also very handy to make parts of your pad dead if you want that. If you have trouble, you know, false triggering places because of form or something super useful to have handy and placing things. So let's move on. Not gonna, well, I guess I could put this back on for now while I talk. But the center panel was also another issue. What I finally just did is double-sided the electrical tape, which I recommend using a better tape for this. But, you know, this was kind of like in a pinch where I just kind of took the screws out and put the tape on the underside of the panel so that the panel would not lift up. This ended up being actually very successful kind of mod for me and one that I do not regret. So if you do decide to keep your screws on, keep in mind that if you take one of these screws and you tighten it, you're going to press the Lexan down harder, meaning the Lexan is going to be closer to, the two contacts will be closer to each other, you know, decreasing that, you know, that tension. I don't like that as much because I think that I would get like more triggers that way, little false triggers. So I did not do that. I feel like I should be playing a song, but then knowing me, I would get like muted on YouTube and demonetized or whatnot. I'm not making money off of this. This is just for you guys. But yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I still answer my YouTube videos. But up arrow is a little special demon, as you can tell. Gently pull that back, and you can see the mess that is my up arrow because I have small feet and I can't trigger the up arrow no matter what. So this is a special case. And if you really want to do this, be careful because it will make it super sensitive. So, new mod time. I really, really want it to be sensitive in this area, and that's very difficult on something that does not want to make contact in this area, as we reviewed for this. It's not a big of a deal because I'm like hitting here, and you know, I do want some contact because I am doing brackets and my feet are probably actually is this the size of my hand? I gotta check this out. Pardon me. That is, that's very close. Anyway, that's not a great thing. Woo! This carpet made all the difference, guys. So yeah, so let's review. I kept the same penny mods. They are not bothering anyone. They're not doing much. So what hurts, whatever, doesn't need to be removed. The main problem I've had with removing tape is the stickiness. Just get some Goo Gone. Just, you know, and then wipe it. Always use a microfiber cloth if you can. Paper towels leave residue. So that's why I've switched to using microfiber cloths for basically like everything. But if we zoom in, which I could zoom in while sitting up, but you know, this is more like action-y. Or I guess like, you know, whoa. Okay, enough of that. So my original modding had the pennies here and the pennies here. Well, probably these two, and then I added this row, and I kept adding pennies to the middle, and it just wasn't doing anything. And it was not very useful when I was trying to do a bracket, because my foot's gonna freaking hit the dead areas here, and it's just like an impossible task. So what I did was like, I started off with this, and I was like, okay, if you start off, just go kind of slow and see what works for you. I started off with this, and then added these, you know, on both sides. Like, always try to be symmetrical with your modding, because, you know, adapting a form to a pad when you could actually mod the pad for you to be symmetrical is probably a better idea than just like being lazy. So that wasn't getting the job done for brackets for me. Like, I miss every single one. I'd be like freaking stomping, freaking yeah. So I took a risk, and I took this on this side of the panel and added a penny here. And I told you that I didn't like stacking metal tape. But in this case, I'm stacking this on top of this, which are two different pieces and not on top of each other. I could have stacked two pennies on. I have not tested that modding theory. I do not think it would work very well. I think it's best to just stick with the two contact plates. So once I've done this and this, and I have a small bit of overlap, I made sure that it was kind of only touching a little bit of these. So as you can tell, they're kind of off center. So this one technically should be hitting kind of in here, so it's not penny on penny necessarily. I guess if you really wanted to be spicy and play stamina, you could do that. I don't know how well that would work with the boys on. Currently, with the boys on, I really don't get much, even with as aggressive as a modding of this that you see. It's not too bad. This arrow works almost the same with and without all 4 screws in. I do like the word a lot, so just kind of like ignore me. I'm not a professional speaker. I like streams. I don't like these screws. Okay, I switched to putting these in with my right hand. I'm actually a lot more efficient with my left hand. So I basically have that for just the up. I don't think you need it for the down. If you have a, you know, pretty good, you know, form and everything, and you should just still be able to hit the down arrow. Come on, dude. Come on, dude. This is really hard with just one hand, actually. But yeah, you know, basics, have your scissors and your tape nearby. You can always just open these bad boys up and mod them. I also have a very short nubby bar for this as my bar mod. It actually works pretty good. This bar is probably too tall for me, but I didn't know that at the time when I built it. I could make new bars I can probably show you what I used. This is in my bar mod video that I made like a million years ago, but it's like, I guess 18 inches long and 1 inch thick tubing. I do like that. That's pretty fine. It's wide enough, I think. And of course, these are the same. They're just a different length. 36 inches. Yeah, that's probably a little bit too much, but I was just using standard piping stuff. As a conclusion, I can show you the down arrow. So I didn't get as many catches on the up arrow, but I definitely would recommend trying to use something, even if it's just tape, between the Lexan and this, like, you know, papery panel part, to keep the Lexan from really popping out. Ugh, how tight is this? I really don't touch the down arrow that much. Down arrow is like the least of my worries, but like if you put, like, you know, tape between here and there, it should work out pretty well. Remember, outside in. And I like to keep the arrow pivoted so that I make sure that I'm not pulling on the wire itself. Also, yeah, make sure they're all connected. You should have no problems with these, but be careful because ground is somewhere underneath here. So if you ever need to check ground, it's underneath a bunch of stuff. I do not recommend, if you have the center plate in, don't remove it. It's a really big pain in the butt to do anything. So this is kind of the basic. I still really kept the basic pad modding for the down arrow. The threes, you can tell it's used and stuff, but honestly, it's not that bad. It's not like it's eating into the metal. It's not really killing my pad. I don't have a loss of sensitivity from it. I mean, you do you. If you want to protect the pad and not do this, that's fine. But I mean, I've had this pad for how long? I played really heavily on it for 4 years and did up to like stamina 16s on it. I mean, it lasted through a lot of play, honestly, and the thing that really got me was like brackets and stuff, and that I have now accounted for. So no big deal on something like that. I have considered changing out the Velcro pads to make them smaller, because really all it needs to do is keep a constant distance between the upper panel and the lower panel. That's all it really needs to do, and it needs to keep that wire in place. So you would have to be really careful about modding that, but I did consider that if I was still stuck with this and I couldn't afford anything, I would honestly do that. But as you can tell, something like paper modding doesn't really work for this type of pad like it does the L-Tech. I don't know if people penny mod L-Techs. I have seen them. They are very different pads. So take what I say with a grain of salt about that. But yeah, this didn't really give me any problems, this tape right here, for whatever reason. When I played, I would be careful with it, because if you do like trip on it, it can get sticky. But I honestly didn't have any issues there. So, there is my video. If you have any questions, let me know, or tag me. I'm basically Freya on every platform. So DM's are open, YouTube's open, you know, really hope to never lose my channel, but, you know, get your modding on and get some good passes.